The second round of the Eastern Conference is underway, while the schedule for the West has just been decided after the Clippers beat the Mavs in a 7-game series. All that and more on today's episode. We'll start off with the Western Conference, the Clippers taking on the Mavs. Game 7, Clippers came out victors with a 126-111 win. Kawhi Leonard with 28 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists and 4 steals. 10 out of 15 shooting. Marcus Morris went off 23 points. Paul George went off 22 points. Horrible shooting night though.
Yeah.
On the other side, Luka Doncic, 46 points, 14 assists. The rest of the team didn't really matter. This was a roller coaster of a series, right? I mean, we went from Dallas leading 2-0 to saying the Clippers are going to get swept. Then Luka got injured and Clippers have it easy. Then Luka came back and had an amazing game 5 and they have the momentum, they're going to win it. And then the Clippers win game 6 and no team can win at home. The Dallas have this in the bag.
Yeah.
And then the Clippers finally clinched it with an amazing end to the third quarter, which actually clinched it for them. They went on a 31-6 run and there was no coming back from that. What happened this 6 minutes? 6 minutes were left for the third quarter. The Mavs were leading by 5. And then the Mavs went on shooting 3 from 17, 0 from 6 from deep. Missed both the free throws they had.
Yep.
The Clippers went on a 31-6 rampage, 32-6 rampage. The game was over. What really went wrong for the Mavs there?
They just ran out of juice on scoring. Throughout the game, it was just Luka. Luka in the second half kind of went cold. He had 29 in the first half. And then he finished with 46, but a lot of that came late in the game. In the third quarter, he largely went cold, but you wouldn't have to. It's not that he suddenly lost touch. It's just they were all over him defensively. Finally, it took 7 games in this series for Kawhi to finally guard Luka on every play and not fork it out to Batum or whoever else is on the floor. Man of all people. I mean, he was just a baby in NBA terms, right? So I thought he defended Luka exceptionally well, but I still thought later on Luka held his own. He took it to the rim multiple times, beat Kawhi to it and scored. But that's what you do to great players. You don't shut them down entirely, but you do contain them and you do slow them down. And every chance you get, you force the ball out of their hands, which is what the Clippers did expertly. Get it out of Luka's hand, then it's over. There's nobody scoring on that team except him. It's as simple as that, right? So I thought they defended really well. That third quarter was quite topsy-turvy initially because the Clippers started with a decent lead. Mavs came back with a run of their own. They had the lead. And then Clippers had the lead. And then that's it. They just kept stretching it because the Mavs couldn't make a shot to save their lives. We know they can't get a stop very often. They're not great at defense. Porzingis is pretty much dead, it seems, at this point. And Clippers, they had their fair share of misses actually. A bunch of them were second chance opportunities. For some reason, Mavs suddenly stopped rebounding in the third quarter. They were doing it pretty well all game.
Yep.
And that just took the game. I thought they did all the right things. The Clippers, A, they defended very well. B, Paul George shot wasn't dropping at all. He had a terrible shooting night, and so he did what any great player would do in that scenario. Right? He adapted. So instead of taking these contested mid rangers and threes where he was breaking some open threes also. He drove into the paint. He's a big guy. He can use his physicality. Drove into the paint, tried finishing at the rim. Maybe those would also get missed, but at least he'd draw free throws and he'd sink those. And he dished them out too. He had double-digit assists, right? Paul George, great game from that front. So I think Clippers did they got the fundamentals right, but ultimately it just came down to their cyborg-ish efficiency, right? Because they shot 46% from 3. Against the Dallas Mavericks is atrocious 27%. And they didn't miss a free throw all night, the Clippers.
Yeah.
So that's pure efficiency. When you look at Mavericks, that 3 just wasn't falling. So they drove into the paint a whole lot more. Boban had a bunch of points. Obviously, all those would come in the paint. Luka drove in a lot. Porzingis. And they blew the Clippers out of the water in points in the paint.
True.
But all of those are still percentage shots. The free throws are just free. They're literally what they are. And the Clippers created so much separation just on free throws that it was ultimately that came down to be like the margin of victory almost, right? So it was just efficiency was the name of the game for the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard was unreal. The last 2 games he's been nothing short of spectacular. Expect the talk to start again that he's the greatest player in basketball and whatnot. I don't know if he is, but this is pretty unreal. He didn't start in the third quarter. He was 10 of 14 on the night, so he was shooting 70%, or close to it. He was 7 of 10 for a while, and then Defended, got steals, got a block. Just a phenomenal all-round shooting performance from Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, the series was pretty much simple. I mean, after the first 4 games, we decided that the best player amongst Luka or Kawhi would win the series, right? The first 2 games, Luka was the best player. Mavs won both the games. Then the next 2 games, Kawhi turned it on. They won both the games. The last 2 games, though, although Luka was amazing, and in Game 7, in fact, he had more points than Kawhi, I think it all came down to Kawhi and his teammates being better than Luka and his teammates, the teammates being the factor over here. And you look at the bench scoring here, I think the Mavs scored 6 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist in 38 minutes from the bench. The Clippers, on the other hand, scored 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists in around 56 minutes. And that kind of writes the story for this game in itself. It was Luka against the Clippers.
Yeah.
Clippers as a team, Luka individual was great, but the team did not really show up.
Yeah, and they got... so Marcus Morris scoring 23 and sinking all those clutch threes. That's a little more than what you would have accounted for.
Yep.
And then they got a bunch of points off the bench too, right? So the Clippers had, what was it, 27
points.
Yeah,
Yep.
of the bench, and the Mavs had a measly 6. I think there was a point in the first half where it was 0 or 2 points that somebody scored like from free throws. So I think Luka still was arguably the player of the series. You know what? Not even arguably. I think that he is by far the most
Of course.
best player in the series, but zero support. And we were talking about Porzingis, if he is fit and healthy, then it's the Mavs this series. I don't know what he was, other than terrible. And the rest of the team was just on and off. You never know what you're going to get from Tim Hardaway, from who was decent most of the series, but then as the Clippers know only too well, Game 7 is not the greatest time to not show up, even if you've been in the series, right? Kawhi Leonard paid the price for it last year. So it's just down to support. I think it's a great setup that they have in Dallas. Couple of trades, some luck on the free agency front maybe to pick up some good role players, and they'll be on their way. It's freakish. Luka has now, there's a stat that we were sharing in the morning, right? Luka has 5 40-plus point games in his playoff career. We're talking postseason only. He's only played 13 playoff games.
Right.
That's more 40-point playoff performances than Dame Lillard, than Ray Allen, than a bunch of other greats that you can think of. Tracy McGrady, and all of those guys have played at least 50 playoff games. Tim Duncan, Karl Malone, the list goes on. That's insane.
Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Because a lot of those players played in an era where you really didn't have a cap on how many shots you could take. Like, you could keep shooting all night and nobody's going to blame you.
True.
Best player on the court. Luka's here. It's his time. All he needs is support.
It's kind of scary how good Luka is, because despite all of this 40-plus performances, there's still a portion of his game that can still see loads of improvement. For example, he just shot 52% from the free throw line this entire playoff series. In Game 6, if you remember, he was terrible in the second half, where he missed a bunch of layups and 2-pointers as well. Now, if you imagine all of those getting better, which it eventually will, it's kind of scary how good this guy can be, and he's just 22 years old. And I can't even think of what his upside is at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, look at Giannis, right? And you'll get a rough idea of what to expect from Luka, because Giannis is now a 2-time MVP, and a bunch of times he was in the top 3. He still has no free throw technique whatsoever. I could probably match him on a good day in free throws. And 3-point shooting, again, he shot 2 for 5, and we'll talk about it, but that's a rarity. He's still the kind of player most teams will dare to shoot from beyond the arc. And he's a 2-time MVP, one of the best players in the game, and the only guy ever to get a Supermax contract. Right. So if Giannis has upside, Luka has upside, it's insane. That's the thing about Luka, right? I mean, you look at Trae Young. Sure, I mean, he'll develop more wisdom. He'll have better tactical understanding. The more he plays, he'll get smarter and smarter. You're already pretty smart. He'll just get only better and better with each game. He'll learn to read plays better, control the tempo better, blah, blah, blah. But game-wise, those are all the intangibles and the mental aspect of the game. But skill-wise, he's right up there. I mean, how much better is that shooting going to get? How much better is the free throw shooting or the playmaking going to get? Decision making will get better. Sure, wisdom will grow, IQ will improve, but skill wise, he's probably there, somewhere close to his peak. Luka not even close, and he's arguably the best player of that generation right now. Luka, It's the same with Tatum also. I'm sure he'll improve by margins, but he's there. That's him. You know the total package. Luka's 22 and he's got a world of upside left. That's scary.
Talking about total package, how much high is Kawhi up there? Is this the peak of his powers? Is this better than he was at Toronto and the San Antonio Spurs? This series, he was incredible and efficient, right? 200 plus points with 60% shooting. This is the first series where a player has got 200 plus points with 60% shooting since Shaq did it in 2000, 2001. He averaged 32 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists at 61%, 61, 43, 90 ratio. I mean, that is madness. Is this like the best of Kawhi Leonard you've seen?
If this was the best, here's my simple. If this was the best of Kawhi Leonard, this series wouldn't have gone to Game 7. It should have been over in 5 games if Kawhi Leonard really plays at his best, right? He's given us 2 glimpses of him at his best. But it's just sad. This is no better or worse than he was at Toronto. Well, maybe the numbers are up a bit, but that's largely due to the atrocious defending of the Mavs. But they just broke down, what do I tell you, they were so bad in the second half. But Kawhi Leonard at Toronto, and more so at San Antonio, but we get it. Okay, young guy, up and coming, does a lot more on defense. Okay, we get it. But Toronto, he was a superstar. He was a Finals MVP already. And he defended every game. Whenever he needed to, he picked up players half court, sometimes all 94 feet, and he defended. This series wouldn't have gone to Game 7 had he done what he did to Luka in Game 7 from Game 1. And again, speaks to Luka's greatness. Kawhi did all that and he had 46 points. But greatness is consistency. The best of the best of the best do it night in and night out. Not saying Kawhi can't, but he didn't. Took a lot for him to wake up. But that's a very risky. Game 7s can go either way. You can have one. You can wake up and still have one off night, or your teammates like Marcus Morris maybe fails to show up with those threes. Kennard maybe doesn't sink those clutch shots, and Reggie Jackson, who was stinking it up all night, doesn't hit a clutch fourth quarter 3. These things could have easily gone the other way, and this match would have ended a different way. You can't just simply snap out of it, wake up one day and say, okay, I'll kill this series. You can. It's not a very high percentage move though. So for me, consistency is greatness. Greatness is consistency. Kawhi Leonard, forever guilty of random load management and skipping games, is now apparently doing on-court load management, whatever that is. Risky strategy, maybe it pays off for him. But even if it does, even if he wins the chip, unless he does this night in, night out, I'm not going to say this is him at the peak of his past, because it's not what you can do. It's not what you ultimately do. Yeah, okay.
All right then. Talking about the Bucks and the Nets now. The Bucks and the Nets, this was supposed to be the closest playoff series this entire season. This is what we are looking forward to. And it kind of turned out to be a dampener, I would say. First with James Harden going off with 20 seconds on the clock. And then the Bucks not really turning up for the game. They shot 6 out of 30 from 3, and they're the 4th best three-point shooting team in the league. They just didn't. It doesn't go in that day. I mean, is it as simple as that? Is that why they lost? Or there's a lot of other changes that need to be done? Like, for example, Giannis playing just 36 minutes, where KD, who returned after 18 months after injury, played 40 minutes, and Kyrie played 45 minutes. KD actually had 4 fouls on him in the third quarter, and he refused to go out. He told Steve Nash that I'm not coming out. Is that something that is missing from the Bucks, and that needs to be there? Or is it just that you can put it down to a bad shooting night and it'll get better?
It's not. The best playoff teams capitalize when the other team makes a mistake. That's the hallmark of any championship contender. You're unforgiving when there's a mistake. You play with discipline, you wait for that mistake, and then you pounce. True of any sport, true of football, true of test cricket of all things. Where as a batsman, you wait for 300 balls for that one bad delivery, and then you know. But the Brooklyn Nets weren't great. Here's something the Bucks have to realize, and I'm pretty sure they know what I'm saying it for dramatic effect. You can't score under 110 against the Bucks and even hope to win, because you're not holding them to under. You'd be lucky to hold them under 100. That'd be phenomenal. Under 110, that'd be a pretty sweet achievement too. But you're just not going to win with 107 first. So they didn't put enough points on board. Bad shooting night. We know it. Second, Brooklyn actually sucked from 3. The conventional guys did. Their superstars did. The 3-point percentage was slightly better than Milwaukee, but that's because out of the blue, Blake Griffin decided he's going to turn into Klay Thompson. And
or James Harden, for that matter, who was missing.
Yeah, exactly. And then Gary Harris kind of did his thing. So he added a few. Sorry, Gary, I'm saying Joe Harris.
Joe Harris.
Yeah. He was pretty sweet. But other than that, the superstars were pretty terrible. Kyrie Irving shot 3 of 11 from 3. Durant KD probably saw that and said, screw it, I'm not going to add to the misery. He took only 4 shots, made 1. That was miserable, right? And that was their opening. That's why you pounce. But they didn't. And you know what? For all the thrashing that Giannis gets, or he disappears in the playoffs, he's here. I mean, Miami, he butchered them.
Yep.
And this was a team that even I said have a Giannis stopper formula, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
He just murdered them straight up. And then in this game, 35 minutes, 34 points, 11 rebounds. Defended pretty well. I don't know what the stats say on that, but he defended, I thought, really, really well.
Yep.
Kept that paint clean, forced ball out of KD's hands a bunch of times.
Yep.
He did all that. And what do you get for it? After shooting like 67%, blah, 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 he hit 40% threes, 2 of 5. That's an aberration, but he did that. And yet again, his teammates decide to not turn up. Jrue Holiday did a bit of a Bledsoe. 17-9, 6 numbers look impressive. He wasn't that great.
He wasn't
that great. Middleton, again, numbers look impressive. Just not enough points, man. When you give
his numbers don't look impressive once you click on their advanced stats and see how much he shot.
No, of course, but yeah, I mean they lost the game, so clearly advanced stats show them up naked. But Middleton, 13 rebounds, great. Nobody asked for them. Nobody cares. Get 6 rebounds. Nobody cares. You need 20 points on the board. Like those 13 rebounds are useless. Put points on the board. Like why is Middleton getting 13 rebounds and Brook Lopez is chilling on the perimeter getting 5? Something's wrong with that configuration. You've got to flip, right? Especially because Brooklyn can't rebound. What business does Middleton have there? The only reason he has all those rebounds is because Brooklyn can't rebound. So they've really got to take a long, hard look. They definitely missed DiVincenzo in that game.
True.
But you know what? It's like you said against Utah, right? These law of averages, they catch up.
Right.
This is a great 3 shooting team. A bunch of players had an off net. Brian Forbes kind of didn't turn up. Connaughton barely got any chance to put points on the board. Bobby Portis, blah, blah, blah. It was
Yeah.
And that's why I say they missed DiVincenzo. But they'll show up. At some point, their 3 shooting is going to show up. If they can keep their defense up, if they can keep the perimeter tight. James Harden's out for another game. This is their opportunity to try and see, spot weaknesses there. They should take game 2. Otherwise, this is a very, very uphill climb. If they drop that second game, it's going to get really tough. It's not like, I mean, the Clippers came up against a bunch of odds and somehow they prevailed because they were 0-2 down. The statistics are really not in any team's favor when they're 0-2 down. And they dropped game 5. So they had like a 17% chance of winning from that perspective. And somehow they clinched it. That's the Clippers. But can't expect the Nets to fold like the Mavs did.
Exactly. Especially if you're expecting the law of averages to catch up, it'll catch up here as well.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bucks did everything right. They held the big 3, now the big 2 to less than 60 points. They didn't let the Nets score 120. Giannis got his numbers 30 and 15 odd.
Yeah.
They should have won.
They didn't score.
Because they were expecting Kyrie and KD to go off, but they didn't. They did. I mean, they got their usual number of points. They had an average game at best. It was Blake Griffin who actually came out of nowhere and kind of stunned the Bucks, I would say. He got 18 points and 14 rebounds. But if you watch the game, it was much more than that. He was everywhere on the floor. He was flying across the floor like... Well, we used to think Blake Griffin fly and dunk, but here he was sliding across the floor. This is a new version of Blake Griffin that we never saw before. And he's shooting threes comfortably, 4 out of 9. This was something that the Bucks really didn't expect.
Yeah, and who would have thought? We thought KD was the snake. It's Blake slithering all over. It's insane.
You really expect the Bucks to come back after this trashing, and I think the Bucks are a kind of a streaky team because every time they come back after a break, they kind of are shaky, right? Like you saw it in Game 1 against Miami Heat where it went into overtime. They shot 5 out of 31 in that game as well from 3. So and they had a week's rest before this game as well. So I think they came out a kind of scratchy, like rusty, and I think they'll catch form pretty soon. The law of averages should catch up because I don't want to be disappointed by a quick series. I want this to go all the way to 6 or 7. Either way, whoever wins, but it will be fun if it will go to 6 or 7.
Yeah, I mean, after a break of all people, the European dude showed up and the Americans kind of didn't. It's uncharacteristic. So, yeah, they need to wake up. Look, Jrue Holiday and Middleton simply cannot combine for 30 points and expect them to win. It just
True.
can't happen. Unless
True.
they let Giannis know right at the start he got to go off for 50 or something, which is just not his thing. He's the 30 minutes, 35 points kind of guy. They just can't. And with Giannis, the thing is, once you start getting hot, they're going to put more defensive pressure on you. He doesn't have Luka shooting or any of those things, right? It's in some ways, he's still limited on offense. So you absolutely, when you spot Giannis' gravity and double teams and triple teams, that's when you step up. Like, what the hell else are you waiting for as Middleton and Jrue Holiday? Jrue Holiday, I will still say, has been nothing short of spectacular in playoffs in general. So it could have been an off night. And he has enough cachet to get away with a performance like this every once in a while. Chris Middleton has been way too suspect in the playoffs and inconsistent for him to get a pass. So I'm looking at him. This is what I said at the start of the playoffs also, right? If the Nets play the Bucks, it's going to be Middleton that's the difference maker.
True.
Because KD, Kyrie, Harden, Jrue largely will do what they do.
Yep.
Giannis will do what he does. He's never been one to shy away. It's Middleton that's going to be... If Middleton has like this 13-point night, it's over. They're gone.
Yeah.
But if he can step up with like a 22-point offensive display, play some solid defense, because one of them is going to have to guard Kyrie while the other guards Harden, between Jrue and Middleton. That's going to be the key difference maker in the series. He's that wild card.
Of course. Talking about stepping up, Trae Young did that. Hawks went off 128-124 win against the 76ers at Philadelphia, where they are almost an unbeatable team.
Yep.
Embiid made an entrance with Triple H of all people at the start of the game. Probably the most popular heel in WWE. And guess what? Trae Young is proving to be the most popular heel in the NBA, shashing down crowds, getting very unpopular with away crowds. But he's doing his job as well as Triple H did probably in his day. Yep. 35 points, 10 rebounds. This is first playoff year. I mean, this guy is incredible. Bogdan went off, Collins went off. They all got their points. Embiid literally went off in the fourth quarter, got 39 points. Seth Curry 21, Tobias 20. Well, all of that is okay. The Sixers are the second best defensive team in the NBA. They led 74 in the first half against the Hawks. What's happening to them? They have two defensive player of the year candidates, Ben Simmons and Embiid. You're not supposed to let 74 points in the one half.
Yeah.
What's going on with them?
But they just got blitzed. I think they were chilling. They got absolutely blitzed. Trae Young and the Hawks came out so aggressive. I don't think anyone in that arena was expecting it. They just got whooped in that. Before they could snap out of it, they were down big. They had conceded a bunch of points that they never expected to concede. And Trae Young, to his credit, was cutting them up. Because I thought the Clippers, the Sixers defended him, and in general, the Hawks pretty well on the perimeter initially, and then the shots started dropping. Yep. Trae Young, I was going to say, just for the sake of making a pun, I was going to say Trae Young stepped up. But he kind of make those threes for me to say that. But he carved them up. And it's not so much that, it's not surprising that Trae Young turned out to be a good playmaker. We know that. It's how aggressive they started. And it wasn't a pattern. It wasn't like they were set up to run plays, create an open three. Whatever Philadelphia threw at them, these guys were mobile, they were fluid. And that's what happens when you have so many scorers that can hurt you in so many different ways on the floor. The Hawks are set up so well because there's Capella and Trae Young, and that's a terrific pick and roll. Then you got John Collins, who can finish strong at the rim. He's got size, he's got strength, and he comes back in defense for you. Then you got perimeter with Trae Young. That's a stretched perimeter with Trae Young. He's one of those 4-point shooters almost. And then there's Bogdanovic, sharpshooter. It's amazing the kind of diversity they have. And then off the bench, you think, when these guys get a breather, they've got Huerta who can come and hurt you. They've got Gallinari. Lou Williams didn't play all those many minutes, but he's another guy that can kill you. And this is with a bunch of players out too. They've got Cam Reddish out and they've got Hunter out and all of that. So this is one hell of a squad, a well-rounded one. Sixers are too. Maybe they should snap out of their slumber. But I think it was just that start was so fire from Atlanta that the Sixers got caught off guard. Dare I say complacent maybe at home, because they've been unbelievable at home over the last 2-3 seasons. There have been seasons where they've absolutely sucked away.
Yep.
And almost unbeaten at home.
Right.
And we mentioned this when we spoke about how the Phoenix Suns just elevate when they play their home games, and it's something special to watch. like the Sixers, and that's what you were referring to. I think they were caught off guard. I think the Hawks started way too hot for them to handle. And to their credit, they came back. But to the Hawks' credit, and that should have even more weightage given how inexperienced they are, they held on. They held on and they hit some really, really clutch shots. Trash talking the crowd. I mean, this squad really loves being the villain. Huh? Bogdanovic hit a clutch three, silenced the crowd, literally put his finger to his lips at the crowd. Trae, everyone stepped up. So I'm very impressed by. I'm not really that impressed by how the Sixers fought back. They shouldn't have been in a position to fight back, and could expect them to do that. I mean, nobody's surprised that the Sixers played well. The Hawks, their start and their finish, they did everything right. The middle doesn't matter when you do that well, and they got that win. And I said without Embiid, this series is. I'm heavily favoring the Hawks without Embiid. And that could still happen. The reason I said that is you never know when this guy will go down, him or Simmons or both. Without Embiid, it's gone. Without Simmons, also it's gone. Both of them fit, firing on all cylinders. Okay, you would expect them to come back.
Yeah, it should be an interesting contest now that Embiid has decided that he'll play. I'm sure he's not 100%. He's probably 85%, 90% fit, but that's still good enough for 39 points. I'll take it. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, so I'll take it. You know, the most interesting stat of the match, Trae was more efficient from 3-point than Ben Simmons was from the free throw line. He shot 3 out of 10 and he made 7 out of 7 field goals, but 3 out of 10 from the charity stripe, as they call it. You're not taking the charitable offers they're giving you out. We discussed about this when he missed those number of free throws against the Wizards, and we talked about if it was going to be a problem. It surely is looking like a problem, because even if he had made like 70-80% of those free throws, it would have been a closer game and the Sixers would probably have won this game. So it is proving to be a problem. How do the Sixers fix this? Because you can't really put Ben Simmons on the bench because he's that great a defender. So how do you fix this?
Yeah. Also, he would then be Ben Simmons if you. That's not his name, so it wouldn't be right. I think overall they've just got to take a long hard look at their defense. I can't really pin it down to one player because, like I said, the Hawks are so versatile. It'll have to be like a 3-4 man strategy to contain them. Embiid can take the paint. I have no doubt there. Unless their pick and rolls are so devastating, unless they do those staggered screens and stuff that Utah do, which I think at this stage is a little too fancy on offense for the Hawks. I don't think they're there yet. When they start running offense like Utah does, they're a problem. They'd be hot favorites in the East.
Right.
They're not there yet. They still rely on individual playmaking and kind of, it's not systemic yet, is what I mean to say. Like with Utah, problem solving, how they adjust to defenses, it's built into the design of their offense. It's automatic.
Yep.
With Hawks, it's just still a lot of manual figuring out on each play from Trae Young and all of the other guys. So then, when you're the Sixers defending against a team that you know is not a juggernaut by design, that is still reliant on the fly play calling and adjustments. Then with Doc Rivers, with all of the playoff experience that the Sixers have, I'm sure they can come up with a 3-4 man strategy because that's what it's going to take. Ben Simmons can do whatever and shut one guy down. Ball still going somewhere, and they've got a bunch of scorers still. They've got Gallinari who had a quiet game. He can contribute off the bench. Lou Williams can come in and contribute. Huerta can come in and give you points. Collins is dominant in the paint. I mean, what do you do? It's not just one guy. I think they need a combination of a bunch of guys stepping up. Embiid, I still think has got the paint. That's okay. Danny Green has to be championship Danny Green. What he's famous for, that perimeter defense. Even on the Lakers, though I felt he dropped quite a bit from his Toronto year in the Lakers, he was still decent. He was a decent option on the perimeter. Second fiddle to Ave Bradley, but he's still pretty decent. So he's got to be that. And Seth Curry's got to defend like he did when Steph Curry was on the court. It has to be like that. It has to be personal. Because otherwise these guys, the Hawks will light you up from outside if you don't have at least a 3-man perimeter. And I mean, given how often we see NBA teams switch to a 3-2 zone, I would imagine as long as they hold shape and maintain discipline, that would probably be the best way to counter the Hawks. You'd still kind of expose yourself to a pick and roll if played well with a staggered screen, but how many times are you going to do that as the Hawks? I don't think they have Utah's ability, like I said. So it's got to be a multi-man thing, but at the very least, Danny Green, Ben Simmons and Embiid have to be spectacular on defense. They just can't have a one-sided game. and that's what it'll take to beat the Hawks.
True. Assuming no injuries, do you still back the Sixers to make a comeback and win this comfortably, in 6?
Yes. No injuries, yes. I'll be surprised if the Hawks take it to a game 7. But any one player goes down in the Sixers, I am swinging wildly in favor of the Hawks. Because that's how good they are. And I really mean it. I said this even against New York. I said it's easy, Atlanta. New York just can't handle Atlanta's offense as good as their defense is. And I still stand by that. This is a red-hot offense. It's probably better and more well-rounded than the Sixers' offenses. And that's saying a lot because the Sixers have a bunch of role players in addition to their superstars.
No, I got to back you on that. I think the Hawks would win if either Embiid or Simmons doesn't play. But with both of them fit, I would pick the Sixers still in 6 probably.
Yeah.
But I don't see the Sixers team good enough to beat either the Bucks or the Nets, whoever's coming out from that other series.
Yeah, if they're like this, no. And they're already starting to show injury signs again, which is pretty much every year. So at this point, we're like, okay, what's new? But like this, it's going to be too easy.
All right then. So those were the games from the weekend. Bunch of games coming up tomorrow. The Nuggets take on the Suns in a pretty interesting second round matchup. That's one game I've been looking forward to because the Suns are a team that I don't want to lose. The Nuggets are a team that you automatically end up backing because the Joker is in there and nobody dislikes the Joker. So you want the Nuggets to do well. So I don't really know whom I'm picking in this, but if I had to pick one, I would pick the Suns probably in 6.
6, I'm with you. Suns for sure. I think the Nuggets just feel like a team where it doesn't make sense for them to do too well. It's just, they're a step away. Conventional wisdom tells you that this is a part of the learning process. Like you fall down to get back up, yada, yada, yada. They've got to learn to get over the hump. It just feels like one of those years. And this is a conference finalist from last year. So anything less than that is a step down, sort of. But I think they're going to be really scary once Jamal Murray comes back, assuming he plays like Bubble Murray and not start of this season Murray. But I think the Suns have too much for them. Unless, again, same caveat, if Chris Paul goes down, it's a problem. But if fit, Suns in 6, yes.
Of course. And then other game, the Nets taking on the Bucks in game 2. That's going to be a fun matchup. Harden's out. He's been ruled out. I really see the Bucks coming back and making it 1-1 over here.
Me too.
Because they need to. They'll be desperate. I'm sure Middleton will have a better game than he did in game 1. Drew Holiday will definitely have a better game than he did in game 1. And Giannis always turns up. So I think it'll be close, but I back the Bucks to pull one back tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's over if they don't, right? It's going to be too tough for them to come back if they don't. So for the sake of giving everyone a good series, and this was the most hyped series yet, let's hope the Bucks win.
All right then, this was fun catching up with you. I'll see you after tomorrow's games. Lots to look forward to and lots to talk about.
All right, man. Cheers.